This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boneyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's Your Choice. Your Choice Family Restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Come to our cruise-ins this summer on the second Tuesday of the month, June through September. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snowblowers. B&B Propane and the family of jet stops. CW Tree Trimming, LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area. We offer a senior citizen and veteran discount. Dutch Market and Coffee Talk of Washington, Iowa. Dutch Market can handle all of your grocery needs, and they even have a conference room that you can use for free. Coffee Talk's drive-thru is open and ready to serve you coffee, energy drinks, sandwiches, baked goods, and ice cream. They all present you the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. On this episode, I am going to visit with former Jefferson County, Iowa paramedic Jesse Husmann. Jesse reached out to me via my podcast Facebook page, Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain. There it is right there, the Facebook page. She sent me a message via Messenger, and she said the following, and I'm going to put it on the screen so you can read along. I, Jesse Husmann, am a paramedic who was employed with Jefferson County Ambulance Service since its opening in October 2023. On February 17, 2025, I commenced my first shift back, a 48-hour-long shift after an absence of 13 weeks due to a non-work-related injury. This shift was scheduled to start at 7 a.m. on February 16th and conclude at 7 a.m. on February 18th, 2025. During my first day back, I did experience some semi-significant fatigue after being awake for over 34 hours following a 2 hospital transfer. I did not feel like I was overly tired. Approximately at 5 p.m. on February 17th, my supervisor, Josh, called me into his office and informed me that someone had reported I was acting, quote, strung out, unquote, and, quote, forgetful, unquote, necessitating a urine analysis, UA. While I did not perceive myself as confused, I recognized that I might not be able to if I were to be altered. There is a small chance that if I was altered in any way that night, it could have been from a medication mix-up or another medical problem. If that were the case, I should have been medically cleared before being sent for a UA. My former employer failed to consider possible medical explanations and neglected to acknowledge my clean employment and criminal record concerning drug-related issues, directly violating their own policy in the process. This negligence put both myself and others at risk by allowing me to work and drive under these circumstances. Despite expressing concerns that I might be under the influence, my boss allowed me to drive myself to the hospital for the test. Upon returning, he stated that the decision regarding my work status was up to me, permitting me to stay at work despite his, quote, reasonable suspicion, unquote. At around 9:30 p.m., I informed my colleagues of my departure and drove myself home. The following day, I was placed on paid administrative leave. For the next 2 weeks, I received multiple communications, mostly from my boss, regarding the whereabouts of my test sample, instructing me to contact labs to track the results. On March 5th, 2025, the lab informed me that my UA tested positive for amphetamines and THC. I provided my pharmacy details to confirm my prescription for ADHD medication, which explained the positive amphetamine result. However, I did not possess a prescription for THC, which I had used for pain relief during my recovery period. It is important to note that THC can remain detectable in urine for an extended period. I was not under the influence of any non-prescription medications or alcohol when I returned to work. My former employer's actions were in direct violation of their own policies, which state that an employee should not be allowed to drive or work under any circumstances if concerns about their state arise. Additionally, I believe I was unfairly targeted for termination due to my friendship with former management who are currently pursuing legal action against the county, and because I had indicated the possibility of needing further medical leave for surgery. This belief is supported by a, quote, summary of events, unquote, that my boss acknowledged and provided on the day of my termination, which is attached. I subsequently emailed back asking why policy wasn't followed. The county supervisors overseeing the ambulance service, my boss, the county attorney, and HR were attached to the email I sent with questions as they were attached to the previous email my boss sent. I asked why policy had not been followed if there were genuine concerns about my behavior. The immediate response from a county supervisor was to advise others not to communicate with me until consulting the county attorney. HR later instructed that I should not receive any further information beyond what had already been provided to my boss. Added for context, on January 20th, around 1:05 p.m., I reached out to the courthouse to discuss concerns with HR regarding my treatment at work. I wanted to talk about feeling targeted there. A woman named Darcy answered the call and refused to let me speak to HR, failing to even inquire whether my concerns were about my current boss. Therefore, I couldn't talk directly to him about it. This outright refusal escalated tensions further as she subsequently informed my supervisor of my inquiry. My employment was officially terminated via phone call with my boss on March 5th, 2025. Attached is my termination letter they sent me. My test results also were listed as, quote, post-accident, unquote, even though there was no accident. A judge awarded me unemployment benefits, criticizing my former employer for failing to send my test results via certified mail prior to my termination. Additionally, I have attached a letter from my doctor stating that my prescription medications could potentially cause confusion and confirming he has no concerns regarding my use of the medications he prescribed for my ADHD and all other medical needs. All of this is direct evidence that the claims of me being under the influence during my work hours has no proof because I wasn't. Moreover, after my termination, my former employer misled the media by claiming I was actively under the influence of THC at the time of my dismissal, despite the absence of any supportive testing evidence. Attached are relevant emails, policies, and screenshots related to these incidents. Jessie Husmann gets her chance to tell her side of the story right now. Jessie, thanks for being on the program. You are a brave individual. I want to say that first of all. And I want to share before we start conversing something you sent to me back on July 29th, 2025, when you first reached out to me. And you said, and it's right here in my hand, and I'm putting it right there on the screen right now, I was happy with how you presented Brian's case. Brian would be Brian from the former ambulance director, Brian Thomas. But let's get on. I was happy with how you presented Brian's case. No one is reporting the real facts. I've tried news stations, radio, and newspapers. Can I ask if you have gotten a lot of feedback so far on this whole situation? I want my side out there because people are believing the county about me coming to work altered. It breaks my heart. Paramedicine is my whole life. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I plan on doing it all my life. All I did wrong was have an injury and remain friends with Brian Thomas and Judy Heisel. If I wasn't, I'm 1,000% positive this wouldn't have happened this way. So I think that kind of lays everything out for the audience. And do you want to expound on that statement?
Yeah, sure. So I was very excited. I was there for the opening of the new ambulance service, and I knew Judy and Brian from the past. So like you said, that was pretty well covered in what you said. And so mostly they, I don't know exactly how they were let go, or I don't know what word to use. But when they were no longer working there and the new director was coming in, um, people were saying there's a target on my back because I'm still friends with Judy and Brian. And then the other thing was I was involved in a car accident in November. So I was off for 13 weeks with the
And that was
potential.
living in November of 2024.
Yes, yes.
So just a couple weeks after Brian was let go.
Yep.
Okay.
So I was driving to work in the morning and I fractured my back and my wrist. I had surgery a couple of times. And I've had physical therapy. I'm feeling a lot better. Um, I I just want people to know, first and foremost, that I would never show up to work impaired. And really, I couldn't think of a single person that you know what I mean, that would disagree with that, except for the people that wanted me to be let go.
And you really feel that the reason they wanted you to be let go was because you were hired and were friends with the former management of the ambulance.
Yes. And then for the possibility of that, like meeting disability down the line for my wrist.
Real,
That,
okay.
yep. So that was the other injury. So they've done a couple of surgeries there. They're ready for me to find a job, and I would love to find one. So those have been challenges that have kind of been just ongoing since I was terminated on March 5th of 2025 from the ambulance service.
And before you were terminated, you were off of work, as you said, 13 weeks.
Yes.
You
Yep.
went back to work in February of 2025.
Yep. I went back February 17th. And I had scheduled a 48-hour shift. So it would be Sunday at 8 a.m. until Sunday on Tuesday a.m. So this was my first shift back after that 13-hour or that 13-week disability. I was nervous. I was used to a normal sleep schedule again. Um, I really enjoy my partners that I worked with there a lot, and they're really good about like pairing things up. And so I really did for a while feel, okay. Um,
You were on a team, you were part of a team.
yes. And like when Josh started, I just he wasn't as talkative, and I started just getting like concerned with like some of the tones of like the way that he
And
would
get
talk.
give Josh's last name and what
Okay.
his title is.
Yeah, so Josh Heminger is the current ambulance director at
Okay.
Jefferson County Ambulance Service. As I understand it, that is what he does. And then he reports up, obviously, to the county supervisors who have been also involved in this ordeal.
Hmm.
I will side note tell you that I have felt targeted for a while, and I did reach out to human resources, or I tried to reach out to human resources to express my concerns. I don't know the last name of the person that answered, but a woman answered who's not human resources, and she said, no, your chain of command is to go through Josh up to HR. And I said, what if it's about Josh? And um, she just said, you need to go to him. And then before I even got back to base, he already knew about it. He knew that I had went to HR.
Wow.
So
Now, I want to get back to the word targeted.
yes.
What exactly do you mean by that? What is the feeling or the sense or the actual examples that you had that made you feel, quote, targeted, unquote?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that um, th- there's it is a big deal that Judy and Brian remaining friends with them. because like if I am over there, there's a lot of people like kind of gawking. And like the supervisors have seen me over at Judy's house. And my job is to keep my work separate from my friendship. I'm here to do my job. And then I like to go home and be with my family and be with my friends. I love my job. I loved all of it. I loved helping people. And between what I felt was targeting with associating with Brian and Judy Heisel and Brian Thomas, the old management, that's when things started to change. So I had no disciplinary action. I had no other, complaints leading up to this. I have never had a drug related problem or like never been accused until today. Or not today, but when I was terminated. Does that kind of answer the question, or do you?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
And so what do you think is the thought process that I'm assuming that when you were visiting with Brian and Judy, that there were times that you were being followed or people drive by the house to see who's
Right.
hanging out?
And again, I understand completely that's not illegal, right? Like to drive by somebody's house. However, it was when the car that I was driving happened to be in that driveway. They just, things got a little more tense at the ambulance base itself.
So you would get like maybe whoever was doing this driving by, casual drive-by, would then call and say, "Hey, she's hanging out with Brian and Judy. You better watch her."
Yep.
Is that what you feel like is happening at that point?
Yes, and I think that was the biggest factor. However, there was some talk originally about possibly needing another surgery due to my accident. And I didn't keep that a secret. I did not say that it was for sure, but I did not say nothing about it. They were I got along with my coworkers, and I was just saying, I'm really ready to get back to work after these injuries. And with the potential for me being out another 8 to 12 weeks, I know that Josh, my boss, was very not happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other main reason is just, that was my first shift back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have loved, like, if something was wrong, like I would love my partner to have told me, or a fire department, like somebody to tell me, because when you're confused, you can't always perceive that you're confused. Sometimes you feel like you're not confused. I'm not saying that's what happened. I personally don't think I know for a fact that didn't happen. I am almost 100% positive that it was something related to my medication. And the targeting came more from, again, I'm not 100% sure, making sure I wasn't taking narcotics while working is what they said they were kind of looking for. So, I was acting strange, Josh Heminger said, the morning of the 18th. So that would have been the Monday.
Basically going into your second day of your 48-hour shift.
Right. So it's about hour 34 in.
Yeah.
And he was around all day in his office. I didn't really even get the gist that there was an issue until he called me into his office. He told me that he had reasonable suspicion to ask for a UA.
And tell everybody what UA means when we're not into this.
Urinalysis.
Okay.
To test urine for any sort of drugs or anything like that. So that is kind of quoted in that policy as well, that there needs to be a direct, you need to do it in a certain order for it to, for them to be following policy. And the other thing is, on my drug results, they misdocumented it as post accident. So it does look like I was in a car accident with an ambulance, and then so that was another.
But let's back up a little bit.
Sorry about that.
Let's no, that's fine. You're doing a great job, first of all. And but I know if I'm having questions, people that are watching are having questions too. So hopefully I'm having some of the same questions that they have. What I'd like you to do is just kind of back up a little bit and go through that day when your shift and when all of a sudden you're being told you have to go get a UA.
So we did have a hospital to hospital transfer in the middle of the night when Jefferson County Hospital cannot handle them, and they're stable enough to go by ground. We do transport them to like level 1 trauma center at the university or some of the other hospitals. So we don't always go there. Can you phrase the question again? I just want to make sure I answer it.
I just kind of want to know what happened. What were you doing that led up to when you get back to the ambulance base, you're being told you need to go to Jefferson County Hospital and have a UA.
Yep. So and that, I mean, it was a big blindside. I felt it strange that it was happening at 5 p.m. right before Josh was leaving for work. I'm like, was I confused all day?
And so
Like,
this was Monday, 5 p.m. He's wrapping up his day and he approaches you with
this information. He said, some people said you're acting strung out. And he said, maybe I ran into a wall and
ran into a wall.
yes, and I would love to comment on that a little further. Is
Go ahead.
have a we have that stretcher, as you all know, that we put patients on. And sometimes, like when we're steering that cart, it's just a hard steer because you're trying to use people to go the same direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's just a slightly better than a Walmart cart.
yes. I would like, yeah, yes, that's a good analogy. So, and to go along with that, I thought I was doing well. I felt like I was very tired on Monday just from that hospital transfer that I had that night. I was going to take a nap, but we had enough of a day where, oh, and by the way, sorry, naps are allowed for 48-hour shifts in order to try to keep the community safe and not have anybody able to.
I just say in 48 hours, I'll probably get about 16 to 20 hours of sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were times when we could, you know what I mean? Like it's all based on who's calling 911 and where we need to go. There's been shifts where I haven't turned a wheel. So you never know what to expect. And again, that's one of the things I like about it. However, I did not expect the 18th to happen in the evening of those kind of concerns. It sounded like he said that he got them a while ago. So I was curious as to why it was coming up then. And my other question was just, I had a hard time getting policy for this, to figure out if they were approaching this the way that the policy was given.
And you probably weren't looking for policy
Not at that time.
At that time.
Correct.
This is after the fact. So
Yes,
tell us, so go through the whole,
Yes.
Let's just map it out.
I have it written down here too. So
Okay.
yes, on the 18th around 5. Okay. He said those things. And I said, okay, like what happens now? And he said, either you do a urinalysis immediately or you'll be put on paid administrative leave right now.
So right now, Josh Henninger is telling you, I believe you're under the influence of something and we need to get a urinalysis pronto. Right. Or stat in your business.
Correct. It was strange that these concerns It sounds like we're throughout the day. I think that if I'm acting strange, especially in my profession, it's very, very critical for somebody to say something because paramedics have a big job. So if you're too tired or something else comes up, and I mean, you are risking your life, the patient's life, and the life of everybody around you. So
Exactly.
so I did not see Josh a lot during the day because I did try to take a small nap. Just getting, as you know, back into movement after being kind of sitting around, getting your injuries to heal.
Right.
Um, so he sat down and he told me what happened, and I said, I really don't feel like I'm impaired in any way, shape, or form. Um, and he's at that point, he said, you're confused and you need a UA. So to elaborate on him saying that I was confused and strung out just a little bit, um, I definitely was tired. And the other thing that I would say is very few people on the ambulance service when I there thought I was very coordinated in general. Like since I was a kid, I just run it. I mean, like they would always joke with me. And the thing is, if there was confusion, we can't, as an ambulance crew, we can't let a patient go if they're confused because they can't consent to going and getting medical treatment. And I was not, the policy was not followed. Josh asked me to drive to the hospital at this
Now,
point.
did he say to you, I want you to go to the hospital and get a urinalysis, and you just go do it? Or did he offer to drive you or have someone take you there?
He did say like, "Hey, Sarah can drive you over there," and I was like, can you it's just like going over for a urinalysis. I'm already seeing people in the hospital that I'm working with, and so for me, it was like Josh is the only one that knows this situation. Josh is the one that brought the situation up to me. It seems appropriate that, and when we get into the policy later, I think my main thing is, if I was altered, um, why are we not considering a medical reason for such? Like, with no drug history, with no employment history at that time, why are we jumping to that conclusion when there can be a medication imbalance or something else going on, which is
Or
why,
yeah, exactly, or something completely different that might be happening to you that you don't even realize.
correct.
So you turned down the ride with, you said Sarah, I think you said, and Josh did not offer to take you, and you get in your vehicle and you drive to the Jefferson County Hospital. While your supervisor in his mind thinks you're impaired, and the policy in a scenario like this calls for someone to drive you. You
Yeah.
should not be driving anything, anywhere under this now created situation.
Correct.
So
And that's what
you drive on to Jefferson County Hospital.
I did. And
Did you get there okay?
I did. I got there and I went in and checked in and I gave the urinalysis. Like, I mean, I was going to cooperate with this. The other alternative was to be placed on administrative leave and an investigation would be done. And a urinalysis would still be needed. So I said, yes, I will take the urinalysis. Like, I will go do that. Um, I did. And when I got back to the hospital, I drove myself back. All right, I drove myself from the hospital back to base. And that is a screen that you send out. So JCH, the local hospital, did take the urine, but they're not able to test it to see what the results are at that time. They send it to a company who can then break it down a little more and make sure people that are on controlled substances would be on the right. Like they're able to, in that lab, kind of separate that more. There was an email chain going around between Josh and it looked like the county supervisors and HR just the UA results took 2 weeks to come back. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention when I got back to base that night, I asked what was next, and Josh said, "That's up to you." So I said, "I can stay and work." And he said, "Yeah, it's your choice if you want to stay and work or go home."
How long were you at Jefferson County Hospital doing the urinalysis? And then how long, what time did you get back?
It was a short process, maybe 20-minute stops.
Okay.
But that includes drive time over there. Like they already had,
And then drive time back.
yeah. Yep. I was there.
Where you're accused of being under the influence of something and you drove both ways back without issue. Either you got very lucky, the Lord was looking over you, or whatever, or the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department didn't have a car going by and seeing you swerving and everything else, or the Fairfield Police Department. None of that happened.
Let alone the public in that area, because we are trying to use lights and sirens. When I say we, EMS, emergency medical services as a whole, we really are trying to work on like the opioid epidemic and all of that stuff. So like we check all of our drugs, they're all locked up. All of my drugs have been medication related. I don't want to say drugs, medications. And at some point when you're ready, I mean, I have some doctor's note again that kind of affirms that either something else medically could have been going on or the situation was handled in a very inappropriate way.
I do want to share that, but I want to share it a little later in this conversation. But what I want to get to at this point is, so you get back to the ambulance service. Josh is there. He said, I'm sure he asked if you did the test or whatever, and take it from there.
Yep. And then he left for the evening. And I remained on a truck. Around 9:30 that evening, I did have my dad come so he could follow me home. They had me paranoid. I was like, they're letting me work, but I don't know where that's coming from. And so I just had him follow me on the way home. But not because I felt impaired. Again, I really want to like emphasize that during this whole day, I felt tired. I was a little sore, but I felt like I was with it.
You probably felt a little endangered at that point.
I was very, very worried at that point. Just with also how the whole process went and just explaining things. It was kind of like, hey, go do a UA. And again, it was like, okay, but is that the safest option? And I mean, I just think that policy is put in place for employers and employees. It's for my protection as well. And
now,
so,
I've got to interrupt. I've got a question. If Josh had insisted that you would need to be chauffeured to the hospital, would you have accepted that?
I would have accepted that. One,
Okay.
Josh would have known. And two, like I said, sometimes confused people aren't able to perceive themselves as confused. So him calling me confused was really like, I was like, well, am I? But I'd be like, I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. I know the year. I know all the things that I ask a patient to determine if they are mentally able to refuse care. And my question was at that point, was I impaired or like perceived impaired? Or were you not worried about that at all and hoping that, there might be some medication like narcotic or something in my urine? So
now, before you go, Jesse, I want to interrupt one more time because I should have asked this a lot sooner. Before you go any further, share with the audience and with me your goal for being on this podcast. What are you wanting to achieve?
I think the first thing that I want is just like I just want my story to be out there. That's the first thing, because even after, the things that I've
And
read,
more, not just your story, but your side of the story,
yes,
if I can
exactly.
interject that. Okay.
Yes, my side. And I did feel very taken care of. And so is it is that I'm not as confused as you guys are saying, where I'm not a danger, or is this like something else going on? You guys aren't really worried about me driving. You guys let me stay at work, where I could operate employee or county vehicles. Like, I practice medicine, EMS. So a lot of things could happen in those scenarios that didn't happen, that we're very lucky didn't, if I was not able to perform at the level. Personally, me, I am 99%, 9% sure that I was not impaired in any way, shape, or form that was going to be an inappropriate medication to take while I'm on a truck. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
it makes sense. It's definitely established, in my opinion. And since I'm the host of the podcast, my opinion counts the most right now. So
Yeah.
tell me, so after that point, tell me what goes on next.
Josh called me the next day after I got home with my dad. He followed me home, and then Josh called me the next day, and he placed me on paid administrative leave. Um, and that would have been I had the drug test on the 18th. So on the 19th is when he came back into work, if that makes
And
sense. That
then,
two.
and that Monday night prior, your dad was outside of the ambulance service, and you drove your vehicle home, and he followed you, and
Yep.
you got home safely without incident, I'm guessing.
So yeah, my mom and my brother both drove cars up there. And they did that. They wanted to see, they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to hear, the people that I'm hearing that I talk to the most. I mean, my family also works in EMS. So there is no blind trust that like I expect from them or from even the community. Um, I just feel like either I was treated differently for something, or um, obviously I was either medicated, or they were saying I was. Then the can I finish the rest of the your analysis test?
Yeah,
Um,
please.
so they did a urine test. Obviously, it's not a rapid drug screen. It gets sent out to a different hospital. Um, so after a few days, I reached out to Josh Heminger and I said, "Hey, have you heard anything?" And that whole week, we kind of played like phone tag of like, "Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything?" I knew that the lab was going to need some of my information before they full out like put a final result out. So Josh texted me every day asking if they had messaged me or if I had gotten a phone call or anything. And I said, like, no, I don't have phone calls that go to spam. All of my phone calls come to my cell phone. Um, I just, I was, afterwards, them bringing me back, I was angry more than anything else. Um, and I mean, I didn't want to get anybody else involved. So like I asked my dad and my mom, I was like, do I seem weird to you? And they also said no. And nobody talked to me one-on-one about this except for Josh. So I don't know what was officially seen, which is why I don't want to say they're completely wrong. They don't know anything at all. Like um the next thing was that specimen that got sent out. They did not know where that went. They were like, it goes to a collection agency. We don't know what one. And they asked me several times to try to track down my own urinalysis test.
So when you say they, I'm assuming the ambulance director.
The director, and then it is on my understanding that he kind of consults with the county supervisors and county attorney as well. I'm not going to say that for sure. That's where their board meetings are on Monday.
But anyway, the county officials, whether it's the ambulance director, HR, board of supervisors, some entities are saying you need to go find your UA.
The one that we requested,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
And
first of all, there someone's in that entity is saying you're impaired in some form. Then you're allowed to drive to and from Jefferson County Hospital. You did everything they requested of you. Then your sample, your UA sample, goes to a collection agency where everybody else's pee is sent, and next thing you know, 2 weeks go by and you still haven't heard anything. They haven't heard anything, and all of a sudden it's yours, Jesse Husmann's responsibility to find your urinary analysis sample.
Yep, and I do have some evidence when it comes to that. I'm sorry to jump back, but on January 17th, I was still not working yet after my injury. I called to ask to speak to Human Resources. I'm under the impression his name is Jack. I have not personally met him.
Okay.
The woman that answered the phone said, no, you can't talk to HR. If you have a problem, you need to go to Josh directly. And by the time I had stepped back into the base, he had already had a phone call saying one of your employees is asking for HR. Like, why don't you see what's going on there? And so at that point, it's even more, I feel like there's even more of a target on my back, because he's asking, well, why did you call HR? And to be honest, I was feeling very targeted.
Yeah.
Ambulance. And so I felt very, very unheard in that moment. I thought we had an open door policy at the courthouse, especially, and at the ambulance space. That has not been my experience. And again, I'm just one person. But I am really disappointed in the level of like safety they were concerned about, or what's really going on here.
Well, I want to interject. I'm sure there are county employees right now watching this and learning things and being enlightened on this whole topic that they never knew about. And what they should do, and I'm looking right at the camera telling them right now, what you folks should be aware of is if you're ever in a situation like this, once you go there to HR, there's a good chance the person you might have an issue with will find out about it before you even get back to your station.
Yep.
Oh, so.
Yep. Yes. And I mean, I did not at any point elaborate to the woman that answered the phone. She does a lot of the benefits stuff, is how I believe. And I wanted to talk to Human Resources specifically. So yeah, the denial was a huge red flag for me. I'm like,
and it's also not a river in Egypt, is it? Not just a river in Egypt.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So, I mean, that's kind of what happened that day. And like I said, there was a lot of like, well, which lab did this go to? Did it go to this lab? Because they also sent it to this lab. And so in the email updates, I'm getting emails that are like to a reply all that are saying like, maybe we need to figure out a different UA process. This is taking too long. This is too confusing. And then when they finally got it back, I verified prescription medication that did show up in my urine with my pharmacy to prove that I had a prescription for it. And I mean, is now the right time to kind of explain what happened?
Well, let's just kind of say what's in it, what they found in your UA, and then we'll take a quick break.
Okay, that sounds good. So in my urine, I'm not going to say specifically what medication was in there because it's personal and it's more of a psychiatric medication. I will tell you that it would show up positive for an amphetamine due to an ADHD medication, or one other medication can show like an anxiety pill. So both of those were cleared by my doctor to be taken at work. I'm very aware of them. I've been on them well enough, and I take them as diagnosed or as prescribed to me. I have an outstanding relationship with my doctor, and like I called him the next day, and I'm like, well, do you hear anything? Is there anything that changed that makes you think, you're concerned about me? And I mean, he said, absolutely not. I've been seeing you for 4 years. You take your medications, you show up at your appointments. And I do, like, I truly believe, and especially in traumatic fields, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be thinking about that. And your employer should be as too.
Now, Jesse, I've got to hit a hard break. Tell
Mhm.
everyone what else was in the urinalysis.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So it did come back positive for THC um,
Okay.
in my urine. So,
And THC, for folks that may not know, do you want to tell them what that is
yes. So it's
associated
marijuana.
with?
It's
Marijuana.
associated with marijuana. And the best way I'm gonna prescribe or describe this to you is I
Let's
don't
just let's just wrap up here. We're going to
yeah.
take this quick
No, that's
break,
fine. Yes,
and,
the THC, I
and
just wanted to say it
and
correctly.
we'll be right back.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching the podcast. We're taking just a quick break here because I need to share with you how you can get one of these cool t-shirts or one of these cool hats or this huge, let me just make sure I'm holding this right, Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain blanket. Oh, man, it is soft too. Anyway, all you got to do is go to a website called Bain Designs, and that's what it looks like. You can see it there. Once you're there, just search Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain, and boom, up comes that. And you can get stuff like this, a tumbler. This is Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain, and on the back, stay friendly, Southeast Iowa. And don't forget the ever cool Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain coffee mugs that also say stay friendly, Southeast Iowa. It's all there. And why am I telling you this? It's because I appreciate you, and I know that you tell people about this podcast, but this is a way for you to become a walking billboard, get some conversation started, help me promote your favorite podcast. And once again, I thank you. And this was a long enough break. We got to get back to the podcast. And, stay friendly, Southeast Iowa. And thank you so much. Well, thanks for hanging out with me in the break there, Jesse, and to the audience as well. Where we stopped, we mentioned that THC was found in your urinalysis. Let's pick up from there.
Absolutely. And this is a question I've been waiting to answer. The first thing that I would like to say is even though I'm a paramedic, I do not think I have different laws than the rest of the community. So I want to start out by saying I am not, like, if that was drugs in my system, what it wasn't. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I can't articulate it very well. But THC is,
There's somebody right now that's watching and saying, Jesse, marijuana use in the state of Iowa is illegal.
yep, that
And
was it.
and THC is the chemical in marijuana that creates the high and everything else.
Correct.
And that was found in your system, and
Yes.
that goes against the policy of your employment to have THC in your system. So was that actually in your system?
Yes, it was. I had THC in my system, and again, I don't make excuses. I was in a very severe car accident. I broke my back and my wrist. That was on November 10th. I am unable to take narcotics for a personal reason. So I was using over-the-counter pain medications, and I was in a lot of pain. And I did try a couple gummies to see if it would help with the pain.
And let me interject. The reason that you don't use a prescribed narcotic pain pill is the fact that you used one before and you had adverse effects when it was prescribed to you before. So you and your doctor are like, no, Jesse, you
Yep.
can't have that. So
Yep.
you didn't have it.
No, I did not. So, and I wasn't taking narcotics, even for weeks before the accident. And I don't know, I don't want to talk down to anybody, but THC can stay in your system for up to 30 days. So for this,
Well, I've even heard it can stay in your system for up to 10 weeks.
It's yeah, a lot of people say it differently. I
Hmm.
just like want to point out a suspicion of like impairment and like somebody being actually impaired, like
Hmm.
that comparison can be really damaging. And I did get an article wrote about me that said a paramedic was awarded unemployment benefits, even though I was a drug user, is what it was implying. It said I was actively under the influence at work. I would like to say I wasn't, and I would also like to say they did not do the testing to be able to determine that. All of the testing they did was that urinalysis, where they saw that the THC was there. So it was not like I'm filled with THC in my blood right now. We're testing it and seeing what's going on.
So
So
the other thing I want to interject at this time is you said you used those gummies
mhm.
one time. You said there were two of them.
Yes, two
Okay.
total.
And you got those gummies how?
A friend of mine has THC gummies with what is the other? Not THC, CBD as well, and that is supposed to be for pain legally.
Mhm.
Um, so
Illegally in the state of Illinois or the state of Missouri, but not in the state of Iowa. Okay.
so
So anyway,
yeah,
let me just interject a couple other things. So then there that newspaper article or whatever it was that said you were drugged and high on THC and all this while you were at work. That's not true. You took those two things. They probably never did make you high in the stereotypical form of being high. And then the other thing is that you had taken those weeks ago, so there was still a trace of that in your system, but it was not making you high. Um, I'm not condoning the use of THC. I've never used it myself, so I don't, but I'm just trying to be fair and balanced on this reporting now so everybody understands. And so, in order to know, number one, all the things that were printed about you, they would have had to have a blood drawn from you and had that blood tested in order for those statements to be true or false.
correct. So your analysis only detects THC, and it
Okay.
does not detect like if you're actively under the influence of THC.
Okay,
This
now I want to clarify where you're coming from on this. You're not condoning the use of THC, and you're also recognizing the fact that if you have THC in your system, you are violating the rules of your employment.
right.
And there's no disputing that on your part.
I don't have a problem with them following the policy of, hey, you have THC in your system. It's very clear in our handbook that you are terminated. Absolutely. Okay. Um, you know, it's that policy violation that put me at risk. The risk they're taking with the health, having me perform my job, and then the risk of going home. And then just I didn't get the results back for longer. It took them before they fired me. So, and that's
And let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, you drove there
mhm,
to the hospital. You drove back to the ambulance center. You even drove home and had family members along the way watching, and you talked and interacted with. You were not high,
no,
period. I think
period.
you have established that.
Mhm,
THC will stay into your system 30 days to 10 weeks, which is
mhm,
over 2 months.
yes,
So there's probably people that are watching this podcast right now that might use THC, might use marijuana, and they're saying right now, yeah, that probably you're right what you're saying. I
correct.
personally don't have any experience other than what I've known from other people and such, but no personal experience on this. But all that being said and acknowledged, you were able to do those things and there were no problems or occurrences which also establishes that you weren't high when this
Correct.
happened. So let's jump ahead now. And the other thing, before I forget, damn it, they wanted you to figure out where the hell your urinalysis
Yes, I would love you.
results are.
Yes, yes, 2 weeks.
I mean,
Contact.
I gotta, before you say anything else, I'm gonna look in my camera and I'm gonna say, Jefferson County officials, whoever you are, what the hell were you thinking? And someone's gonna say I wasn't fair and I didn't have you come on, Jefferson County officials. Here's the deal. I knew you'd say, oh, we don't want to talk about it. Well, I'm giving you an opportunity to talk about it. Right here, I'm putting my Facebook page, and on it, just like Jessie did, she messaged me through that page that you're looking at right here and contacted me. You can do the same thing. Okay, Jessie, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go on.
I appreciate that. I I I think you summarized it really well. I'm not going to be like, well, I was off for 13 weeks, so I was entitled to trying it. Like, there's none of that. It's just like that. I mean, I've lost out on a lot since that happened. You know, my unemployment case was one. The judge cited the reason being they were supposed to notify me via certified letter before they can fire me. So I did get unemployment benefits, starting with them. And I did finally get a copy of the results as well. But there's an article that like goes ahead and summarizes that as well, that unemployment hearing. But I haven't been able to get another job. And in that article, it says actively under the influence at work. So nobody wants to hire me thinking that I'm going to show up impaired when it's just not true.
And tell the folks that are watching and listening how long you. First, I know you're not supposed to ask a lady her age, but I'm going to violate that rule because it's 2025. How old are you?
I'm 29.
You're 29. How long have you been a paramedic?
So I was an EMT for 3 years and I became a medic. So I've been in EMS for 10 years.
For 10 years. So if I do the easy math of 29 minus 10, you were 19 years old when you first became a paramedic.
Or I came in EMT. Yeah,
Or
but
became an EMT. Involved in the
yes. Yep.
process of helping people who are in medical distress. Since
Right.
you're 19 and now you're 29, and you feel, and I don't know, I mean, I can see where you're coming from on this, that why you feel targeted,
Correct.
especially when I had the interview that I had with Brian Thomas a while back. And I can see you've shared emails with me that show company or policy as far as the urinalysis. And I'll just put that up here right now so people can see it. We'll talk about that. What's supposed to happen if an employee is impaired? There it is, folks. It's right there on the screen. You can read it. And then on top of that, how they're supposed to do things. Whoever's in charge doesn't know what the hell they're supposed to do when it comes to this stuff. And they can't, I mean, it's childish in a lot of ways that it's come across. It's at best ignorance.
Right. Yes. I mean, when Josh updated me on the UA, there were several, the county supervisors, county attorney, all of that they were in the email. I did hit reply all when I replied, and I sent them a very polite message and I said, why was policy not followed?
Do you have that email handy
I
with
can
you
send
right?
it to you.
Can you read it to me right now?
Yes, I can.
Let's go. Because what I want to do is when you're reading along on that, Jesse, I want to put it up on the screen here so the audience can read along with you and see that you're not making this stuff up.
Just looking for it here.
Okay. And I apologize for just putting you on the spot on that. But I mean, ladies and gentlemen, while she's looking for that, I mean, it's just you need to do better. These Jefferson County officials that aren't doing as well as they should. You folks need to do better. And I'll see you at a Board of Supervisors meeting, and I hope you understand that I'm just trying to be fair, and I just care about the situation in general. You need to do better. Did you have
Yes.
it?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead and read it and say who it's from, and I'll put it up here on the screen.
Sounds good. So, I said, so Josh, was the one who
Say his last name.
okay, Josh Heminger was the one that I was
Okay.
originally, who asked for the UA and started this whole process. And he is the one that terminated me on March 5th.
Okay.
And I said, can I have a copy of my results? And it says I would like them for documentation. And then it says Lee Dimmitt, and it says, do not write a reply to this until you speak with Chauncey or Elizabeth, which I believe Chauncey is the county attorney, if I'm correct.
He is, and Elizabeth Esky is part of that department as well.
So, and then I did get a reply all email again from HR the first time that I heard from him. And he said, like, it said, you need to be really careful what you're going or what information you give her. And
Do
then
you have that email that you can actually read it? Because I want to
yep,
put that up on the screen because I have to be fair to both sides on
yep,
this. And I don't want anybody to say, oh, she made that up, because you got the darn email that shows it, and you're not making this up.
yes, let me see.
I mean, I want to be, whenever I talk about a document, I don't want it to be hearsay. I want it to be a fact, and we'll get it put up on the screen, and I'll have you read it verbatim, word for word for
Yes,
us.
I can do that. I have it almost pulled up right here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You just take your time. I mean, this isn't easy, folks. Try and sit in Jesse's shoes in her seat and go through all this, and she's being brutally honest, and some of it doesn't make her look good, but she's also being brutally honest and showing how what she's been through, and it obviously shows it doesn't make some other people look very good. Have you found it?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
And do you want me to forward it to you or just read it right now?
just read it, and I'll put it up on the screen so the folks that are watching can see it.
Okay. So, it, I just wrote, last, I think I told you I was asking for the drug results.
Right.
And he said this is on February 25th at midnight or it was 11:59 on the 25th. I spoke with the lab today. They do not have the results from the drug screen. The lab that ran the test, not our hospital, has not published the results because it was positive, and they need to verify her prescriptions to compare to the UA results. The employee has been notified that the lab has been or will be reaching out to her for verification. She said she will try to reach out to them directly. I will keep you posted. And I did.
And who was it? And who was that email from?
So that is from Josh Heminger. So my director, or the director of the ambulance service.
Okay.
And I will read you what I said. Really, it's a short message. It says, Josh, per our conversation, you terminated me due to a positive UA. Can you please provide the policy for the ambulance as far as drug testing? I'm just frustrated. You told me you were worried I was under the influence, but let me drive to the hospital by myself and drive back. And then you told me it was up to me if I wanted to finish my shift. I chose to stay for a while, and then I was too upset. I drove home. Something feels odd about that if it was truly concern about my safety. All I have is a county policy, but I'd like to see the ambulance policy. And then I have Lee Dimmitt says, don't answer this until speaking with Chauncey and Elizabeth. And then HR respondent, I believe his name, or is Jack. I don't have a last name on here. He said, Josh, you should consult with Chauncey on this matter because you want to be very careful about what information you give her. And he sent me one more that said, Josh, you don't need to give her any more than what I gave you. And he signed off again.
And that's in the world that I come from, that there's initials or an acronym, CYA. Cover your ass. That's what they're doing right there. And if they were better at covering their ass, you would never have a copy of that email. They wouldn't have hit reply all. So you folks, this is a little educational moment for you. When you're trying to hide what you're doing and not wanting to offer, don't reply to the person that you're trying to hide it from too, because it might get on a podcast.
Yeah. I was very shocked to see, and they did figure it out eventually. I stopped getting the emails back.
There you go.
I like I said, my problem is like this like them reporting that I was actively under the influence while working. And I mean, you asked earlier, what do I want out of this? First of all, like, I feel wronged. You know what I mean? I hope that is not how they treat everybody, because that's a huge liability. So I don't know if they need to look at policy or what. I haven't thought about a lot about what I want from the county yet, because I don't want to hop on them and just start grilling them without also having all of my ducks in a row. So there's some more stuff that I'm gonna follow up with in the future. And I will reach out to see if John here would be willing to give an update, maybe.
Absolutely.
What other questions do you have, John?
Well, the other thing that I was going to ask you, or want to expound on, is, when you first reached out to me on July 29th, you said that you're working with EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity. What's the C stand for? And then there's somebody else, Commission, thank you. And then there's somebody from the state of Iowa as well.
The Iowa Civil Rights.
Iowa Civil Rights. So where are you at with all of that? What's going on with that?
So they gave me a packet of questions that I'm in the process of typing up for them. The EEOC and the Iowa Civil Rights Commission, they did already pick up my case. It sounds like they kind of shuffled through and seized the one. I sent a lot of what I sent you to them. So they picked it up and they cross-filed it with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. So they kind of took it to that next step after they said we should both be looking at this.
And you have an attorney as well?
Yes.
At this time? Okay, so you've got a lot of things going on. You don't want to go back to work at the Jefferson County Ambulance Service, correct?
I do not.
No desire.
No.
But what you do want is some form of your previously good reputation and long-standing good employment record throughout the 10 years. You want to get that back, and you want to be able to apply with confidence for another paramedic job.
Yeah, like I told you guys, this is what I want to do. I don't have a plan B, because there are days, but I've loved the last 10 years of my life, so this is just so devastating. And anybody that's watched this, I appreciate even considering, because it is hard when you hear THC and you hear positive result, and that is in the policy about that specific thing. So it's hard. Some people don't quite get the whole outside picture. So that's the most important to me right now.
Would it be all right? You shared with me this letter from your doctor. Would it be all right now if I read that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to put my readers on, and it's going to go right up here on the screens for the folks at home to read along. And this is from Meadowlark Psychiatric Services, PC. It's dated February 20th, 2025. To whom it may concern, Jesse Husmann has been under my care since January of 2021. In addition to working hard on her mental health through therapy and behavioral modifications, Jesse has been seeing me for medications to help address mental health concerns. Throughout that time, Jesse has been an active participant in maintaining her health care. Furthermore, Jessie has consistently taken her medications as prescribed and for their intended purposes. Unfortunately, in Jessie's conditions, inadequate medication management is often mistaken for laziness instead of a chemical imbalance, and an appearance of flat effect can be mistaken for a lack of enthusiasm. In my opinion, attitude and professionalism would be the last things anyone would need to question Jessie about. Jessie clearly takes pride in her craft and her work ethic to improve her mental health so she can be better. A better paramedic is palpable. Despite Jessie's medical conditions not being as conspicuous as other physical conditions, I hope you may be understanding of how they affect her and continue to treat Jessie equally to other employees. Furthermore, I hope Jessie's fellow employees follow the same standards and the privacy of her medical history continues to be respected. Thank you for considering Jessie's well-being as she continues to push through a challenging time in her life. And please feel free to contact me. The number is there with any questions. Sincerely, Robert Cherry, PAC, Meadowlark Psychiatric Services. So right there, she's got a recommendation from her doctor that she can do the job.
Yes. Yep. And that there's been no misuse, suggested misuse of any of the prescribed medications that he's given me. So.
Jessie, I want to thank you once again for being so candid and personal. I think it definitely underscores it to me, your passion for what you want to do as a career and what you have been doing, and how you're fighting to get your reputation back, and you're sharing your side of the story. And I'm sure that a majority of this audience is feeling the same way. So once again, thank you for that.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really, really appreciate that.
You are quite welcome. We could probably talk for another hour, another 2 hours, number 3 hours, but I want to wrap this up because you've been through a lot. But before I wrap it up, I want to ask you, is there anything that we should have touched on in these next few minutes that we haven't yet? Number one, because I don't know what to ask. Number two, because we talked about so many other things that we didn't get a chance to touch base on it. I want to give you that opportunity.
The main thing that I want people to take away from this, and it can actually be that you take away your whole life from it, is that when you're passionate about something, you do have to be, cautious about how you're presenting yourself and others. And so again, I always separate excuses from reasons. And I tried to give you the documentation that I had to show you the reasoning behind I was feeling the way that I was feeling. And I think that I do hope that speaks some volumes to whoever does watch this.
Well, I'm sure it will. I encourage people to leave comments down below on whatever platform you're watching. I mean, some people watch on Facebook, some watch on X, some watch on Spotify, some watch on YouTube. Others listen on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and they're listening not only in the state of Iowa, but all across the United States and different countries. Share your thoughts. Hopefully give this young lady some words of encouragement. And also, if you have opinions, she's proven she's tough. Anything you can say isn't going to hurt her.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Me, I'm too old to give a crap if you say something bad about me. It isn't going to hurt my feelings. But really, I hope you folks have learned. I hope I've given Jessie Husmann plenty of time to share her side of the story that has not been shared in Southeast Iowa in a media presence in any form. I mean, she reached out to newspaper, she reached out to radio, and she was ignored.
Yes.
But she reached out to Southeast Iowa Today with John Bain's podcast, and I didn't ignore you, and I won't ignore.
And you kept asking the questions that, I wanted to answer. Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so.
And in full transparency, I asked you a bunch of questions through the messenger texting
Mhm.
that I said, hey, these are the kinds of things I'm going to ask you if you come on my podcast. And you answered them. And then we got on the phone and I threw it at you again. And I said, I'm not going to say it's okay to have THC in your system. And
Yeah.
you're like, good, because I'm not going to say it's okay either.
Right.
So I think, I think you've accomplished what you set out to. And I hope that after this gets released, actually, here coming up very soon, a week from today, that you'll feel the same way.
Great. Well, thanks again, John.
You're welcome. You take care.
You too.
Once again, thank you to Jesse Husmann for being on the podcast today, to being very candid and forthright on a lot of issues that are hard to talk about. Imagine if you were in that situation. I think she did a good job. I implore people, not only in Jefferson County and in the Jefferson County system that are supervisors and bosses and management, to do the right thing and follow your policies correctly. When you send an email, only send it to the people you intend to send it to and not the ones that you're talking about. You're just giving more fuel to the fire, more fodder that I can share on a podcast. Start doing a better job. If you're in charge of personnel and policies, and you're going to tell someone they are violating those policies and you are going to change their life forever, you damn well better get it straight. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming, LLC, Dutch Market, and Coffee Talk. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.